Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Charles V. Wang Center again. And I see that many of you came back for the second production. I'm Jin Young Jin. I'm the Director of Asian Art and Culture and the organizer of this annual holiday programs. Since 2014, I have been inviting Suzanne Borderies and her team to produce amazing creative performances incorporating light and shadows, puppets, and live music and narrations. They've been incorporating many well-known Asian folk tales, covering a lot of regions, Southeast Asia, West Asia, and a lot of stories. So it has been very captivating. So I love to continue this tradition. And this afternoon, we have a performance titled Tales of the Radiant Princess. It is inspired by Japanese folktale. So I'm sure that you'll love it. And we have two puppeteers, Caroline and Suzanne Borderies. They are mother and daughter team, and they are joined by the live narrations and music. Narration by David McCorkle and piano by Mirna Lekic. So I hope that you enjoy, and I'd love to invite you back to the stage to witness the behind the scene again. So enjoy the show as well. Thank you.
Long ago in Japan, there was an old man named Taro. He was a bamboo cutter. He would cut stalks of bamboo all day long and made tools and objects out of them to sell at the market. He tried hard to make a living, but it was difficult. Even if he worked from dawn to dusk, he remained very poor and lived a modest life with his wife. It was a lonely life, too, as they had no children. Every morning, Taro left his home and would go deep into the forest to work. One late afternoon, as Taro was walking in the forest, he noticed a strange stalk of bamboo. It was glowing at the base as if somebody had put a candle to its roots. Upon examining the light closer, Taro was astonished to find a teeny little girl inside the hollow bamboo shoot. The tiny girl was not a baby, but a young girl no more than 3 inches tall. Taro said, "I am the only person who would be here this late and deep in the forest. This little child must be meant for me and my wife." He carefully picked up the little creature and carried her home to show his wife. Taro's wife was delighted and joyfully welcomed the tiny little girl into their house. Even if they were very poor, the old couple decided to raise the girl as their own daughter with love and care. Within 3 months, she grew quickly as bamboo itself and became a charming girl. She was beautiful and literally glowed, filling the whole house with warm light. Children from the neighborhood wanted to see the little girl, who was becoming more and more beautiful, and sometimes they would come to play with her. something else extraordinary started to happen. Taro started to be very lucky and would often find bamboo stalks filled with gold in the forests. Thus, they became wealthy enough to raise their daughter in comfortable and beautiful surroundings, pretty clothes, and servants. Taro and his wife never bothered to buy new clothes for themselves, but the once shabby house became comfortable and luxurious, all for the little girl. Within several months, the little girl had grown into a beautiful young woman, and it became time for her naming ceremony. During the ceremony, they put the girl's hair up in a bun and gave her a long, trailing robe. At her ceremony, the little girl was named Nayotaki no Kaguya-hime, which means the radiant princess of the young bamboo. Kaguya's name-giving celebration lasted 3 days, with splendid entertainment for the visitors coming from far and wide to see the glowing girl who had indeed become a beautiful princess. Kaguya's fame began to spread. There was clearly no woman in the world as beautiful as she. After the naming celebration, every man in the land gathered to try to see Kaguya. Some stayed for days, some for weeks, but finally, all except the most determined gave up and went home. 3 suitors vowed they would do anything to win Kaguya's hand in marriage and waited outside her home for days. Their names were Prince Ishizukuri, Prince Kuramochi, and Prince Mimoraji. Taro, worrying about Kaguya's future, tried to convince her to marry one of the suitors. "Why should I ever do a thing like that?" she replied. "Though you are obviously no ordinary human being, you're still living the life of an earthly woman. I am old, and I will not always be there to take care of you. You have 3 princes here waiting outside, all willing to marry you. Why don't you choose one of them? If one of them can fulfill a wish by bringing me something I desire, I will marry him." "And what is it you wish?" "I would like to see the begging bowl of Buddha." "That will be Prince Ishizukuri's task." "Prince Kuramochi must go to the Horai, the mountain of paradise in the eastern sea, and bring me back a branch that bears colorful jewels from the golden tree with silver roots." "And from Prince Mimoraji, I would like a robe made of the magic fur from the Chinese fire rats. It is said that the fur cannot be burned in fire." Taro was so astonished that for a moment he could hardly speak. He understood that Kaguya had found the most difficult quest, hoping that none would succeed so she would not have to marry. Taro sighed and said, "So be it, if that is what you wish." And he went to see the suitors. Hearing the task, the three suitors first said it was impossible to fulfill, but having second thoughts, they all accepted the challenge to win Kaguya's hand. The following morning, the three princes departed for a long travel. After several days of march throughout Japan, the three suitors decided to part ways to fulfill their quests. They agreed to meet again in 3 months at Princess Kaguya's home with or without their quests fulfilled. Prince Ishizukuri knew perfectly he had no chance at all of finding the true begging bowl that had once belonged to the Buddha, even if he were to travel all the way to India. Instead, he climbed a nearby mountain where an old temple stood. There, he went to the kitchen and found an old pot that had been hanging around for many years and was all black with soot. Perfect, he thought. At least it looks very ancient. He took the bowl and hid in the mountain for 3 months until his meeting with the 2 other suitors at Kaguya's house. From the minute he received his assignment, Prince Kuromochi knew it was an even impossible task. Nobody has ever seen a golden tree with silver roots and even less colorful jeweled fruits. I'm just going to pretend to navigate the Eastern Sea to that paradise mountain and find another solution. After his boat reached a small port, Kuromochi met with 3 jewelers. His plan was to have these jewelers work on a special commission for him. Please create a gold and silver branch like a cherry tree bearing colorful jeweled fruits. Your work has to be kept secret, and I will pay you well. I will send a trusted servant back here in 50 days to pick up the branch. Then he gave them a little bit of gold and left them to work. Unlike the other 2 suitors, Prince Mumuraji thought he could fulfill his quest and find the robe made of magic fur from the Chinese fire rats. You must have to pay the right amount of gold, he thought, and gold was not a problem for him as he was a very wealthy person. But he was also very naive. He decided to go to the port and see if he could find other Chinese merchants rather than traveling to China by himself. He found one who had the reputation of bringing back the most extraordinary objects to Japan. His ship was about to depart for China. "Here is a purse full of gold," he said to the merchant. "You will get another one like this if you can bring me a beautiful robe made out of the magic fur of fire rats from China. I hear it is completely fireproof." The merchant, who had no scruples, accepted the gold and promised to bring back the robe in 50 days. That rich prince is a fool. Such fur doesn't exist, but I might as well take his money, or another merchant will do it. After 3 months, the suitors gathered again in front of Kaguya's house. Each of them carried their gift. The first had the fake begging bowl of the Buddha, the second had a box with the golden branch, and the third had a fur robe. Prince Ishiguri first entered the house, and Princess Kaguya welcomed him. He pulled out the bowl and gave it to the princess. She looked at it suspiciously and immediately noticed that the bowl did not glow at all. She gave it back to him, saying, "The Buddha's bowl would have shone with the light of heaven. This one does not even sparkle with the sun's reflection. This is clearly a fake bowl. I am afraid you have failed." The prince felt so embarrassed that he left the house and never came back. With the first prince gone, the 2 other suitors felt they had a good chance to win Kaguya's hand. Prince Kuramochi entered the house and opened the wooden box he was carrying. He pulled out a beautiful jewelry branch. "Here is the branch from the golden tree you requested, princess. I crossed the eastern sea, traveled all the way to the mountain of paradise, and searched for it for months just for you," he lied. Kaguya took the delicate branch and was mesmerized. It was indeed a work of art. But right at this moment, a commotion was heard at the door. It was the 3 jewelers. The leader of the 3 said, "We came to be paid. We worked very hard on your order. The cost of the jewel is not even covered by the gold you gave us, and your so-called trusted servant who came to pick up the branch never paid us." The prince was so ashamed that he did not look at Prince Kaguya and left the room in a hurry. Prince Kaguya started laughing. "I almost thought the branch was genuine and really came from the tree of paradise." She paid the jewelers generously and kept the branch. Then her father said to Taro, "I am so relieved that the jewelers came in. Imagine, I would have had to marry the prince who not only lied to me, but was also greedy and did not pay his debts." Then it was Prince Mumuraji's turn to bring his present. He entered the room with confidence, as he was the only one left to win Kaguya's hand. He unfolded the robe made of dark blue-gray fur. I traveled all the way to China through rough seas for you, and after many adventures, I finally found the robe made of magic fire rat fur. I hope you will like it. It is a beautiful piece indeed. I am sure you will not object if I test it in the fire just to make sure it is genuine. A fire was built in the garden, and Kaguya's maid placed the robe above the flames. The robe instantly caught fire and was consumed in less than a minute. Seeing what happened, Kaguya said, "Oh, this is really sad. Such a beautiful robe. I am afraid you have been fooled, or you lied to me and never actually went to China." Hearing this and seeing how his robe was consumed by the flame, the prince knew he had lost and left the room. Not only had he been fooled by the merchant, but he had lied to Kaguya and felt he could not face her any longer. Kaguya was left with her parents and no more suitors. "I'm much happier like this. I told you it was a strange idea to get married." Taro sighed, even if at least for now, he was deeply happy that Kaguya was staying with them. Some weeks later, Taro said to Kaguya, "Dear Kaguya, your reputation is such that the emperor himself is honoring us with a visit. He would like to meet you." Kaguya accepted. Upon arrival, the emperor instantly fell in love with Kaguya and said to her, "I desire that you come to the palace and live at my court." But Kaguya replied, "If I was an ordinary human, I would gladly go with you, but I was not born on earth and cannot accept your invitation." The emperor was surprised and not used to receiving no for an answer. He tried to grab her sleeve, but instantly Kaguya vanished from sight, leaving only a pool of light where she had been. The emperor was surprised to see that she truly was an extraordinary being. "Now I see that you are not mortal. I promise to no longer take you with me, but please return to your human form again and let me see you one more time before I go." Kaguya reappeared. A couple of days after the emperor's visit, Kaguya's maid was passing through the gardens at night and saw Kaguya kneeling, looking at the moon and crying. next day, Taro asked Kaguya, "What troubles you, my dear daughter? It is said that one should never look at the moon for too long. I have seen you several times these past days kneeling, looking at the moon and crying." Kaguya replied, "I have kept something from you for a long time now, but could not bring myself to tell you. I did not want to upset you, but now the time has come for me to explain everything. I am not from Earth, but from the palace of the moon. I was sent here by my people as a punishment for something I did wrong a long time ago. I was never meant to stay this long, but became so fond of you both that I could not leave. I feel a terrible sadness at the thought of leaving you soon, but my people will come to take me home. Last night, I was begging for one more year on earth with you, but my request was not granted. And now, at the next full moon, I will leave for good." Taro and his wife Kaguya all wept uncontrollably. Then Taro angrily said, "I will not let them take you. I'm going to fight against them. I'm going to ask the emperor to send soldiers to protect you." Kaguya explained, "There is nothing you can do against the moon people." At the next full moon, the emperor's soldiers were at Kaguya's house, ready to protect her. Everyone was on alert, soldiers ready to shoot their arrows. It was almost midnight, when suddenly a bright light came from the moon, so bright that it was like a full sunny day. Down from the sky came men riding on clouds. As the emperor's soldiers tried to shoot arrows and lift their swords, they were paralyzed. The moon people started to call, "Princess, come, it is time." Old Taro came out, "Please let her stay with us." But the moon people replied, "Old Taro, because you performed some good deeds when you were poor, we sent you the princess for a short time as a reward. We have been a great help to you, and now you're a wealthy man. However much you grieve and protest, the princess has to come back to us. The time for her punishment is over. She must wear the celestial robe of feathers and follow us." Kaguya ran to stand in front of Taro, wearing the robe of feathers. "I do not leave of my own choosing, but do not cry. Just know that whenever you are thinking of me, you can look at the moon, and I will be there forever." After saying this, she rejoined the immortals and rose up into the sky. As soon as they disappeared in the sky, the bright light with them, the night came back. and the moon was back to its normal size. Staring at the moon, Taro could have sworn he saw Kaguya smiling and waving down to him. Taro and his wife lived for many years after that and kept the beautiful memories of their time with Kaguya. Whenever they felt sad, they sat in the garden, looking at the moon, and their hearts were filled with joy and peace.